Right before boarding, I suddenly noticed something strange. The flight I was taking was number 1015, and today was October 15th. Even the departure time had been delayed from 9:30 to 10:15. These coincidences felt way too perfect. It made me feel uneasy, but when I looked around, I couldn't spot anything unusual, almost without thinking. I asked the pilot if the flight would arrive safely today. He gave me a confident yes. After boarding, before I even sat down, I noticed a strange man in the back of the cabin. He nodded at me. I could only nod back politely. Then I noticed an MP3 player on a seat near the front. It was playing a creepy story about Flight 1015. I quickly realized it was the exact flight I was on. Driven by curiosity, I put on the headphones. As I listened, my heart sank. Everything described in the story was happening in the cabin right now. The MP3 said the flight attendants were doing the safety demo, and at the same time, rain began falling outside. So I lifted the window shade to check, and sure enough, a heavy storm was pouring down. But then the MP3 claimed that 1 hour later, this plane would disappear from the world. I couldn't help but laugh at that. Just then, the plane suddenly shook violently. But I realized we were just taking off. Moments later, the MP3 started talking about a mysterious crash. It said the first person to mention was Captain Donald. At that exact moment, I heard the pilot speaking, so I quickly paused the audio and asked the passenger next to me if the pilot's name was Donald, but he looked completely confused, saying he hadn't heard any announcement at all. So I told him what I heard on the MP3 and asked if he wanted to listen too, but he walked away in disgust. When I put the headphones back on, the MP3 said that at 10:21, a bird would strike the plane, and at that exact second, the clock hit 10:21. I suddenly felt a massive impact. I jumped out of my seat in panic and threw the headphones away. I rushed into the bathroom to calm myself down, but when I came back out, I realized none of the passengers reacted at all, as if they felt nothing. I started to wonder if I was hallucinating, so after fastening my seatbelt, I pressed the call button for a flight attendant. I wanted to confirm whether a bird had just hit the plane, but the attendant impatiently said, "At this altitude, birds don't exist." Still, I asked him to check with the cockpit, but he told me to stay quiet. That's when I realized maybe the story made me overly sensitive. So I stopped asking questions, but right after the attendant left, the man who had nodded at me earlier sat down behind my seat. He told me he was certain a bird had hit the plane, and that the crew would never tell passengers about incidents like that. His words made my anxiety spike all over again.